Hey everyone, Jason here. I just got back from the 2013 Spectrum Off-Road Championships in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Uh, it was an awesome race held at Trackside, which is an amazing facility. A ton of good drivers ended up showing up. Just to name a few of the biggest names: Chad Dew, Ryan Cavalieri, Dustin Evans, Joe Pillars, Billy Easton. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting a couple guys. Zach Rose, Andy DeBrino, a lot of super fast guys, and it was an awesome event, and I had a great time. Well, a couple days before I decided to head out there, I had got my hands on this Centro kit, and this is the combo kit that you can get from A-Main for $369. So I quickly assembled it, put the carbon arms on it, put the B44 rear arms, just basically got the car together as quickly as I could. I didn't. I made some mistakes. I didn't order the correct pistons and things like that. So I just decided to go out there with 1.7s in the front, 1.6s in the rear. I think I'm at 32.27, and this is just a white spring and a black spring, and just give it a whirl, see what happened. Unfortunately, I chose the wrong tires, and the car was actually. I shouldn't say the car wasn't horrible, but compared to other mid-motor cars that I have driven, it didn't drive the way I expected. Now, at first I was really disappointed, but one of my best friends actually has one of these cars built, and he uses the same radio I do, so I just grabbed his car and went out, and it was awesome. So clearly I just missed the setup. I just missed the boat on the setup, springs, camber links, all that stuff. Now, luckily, one of my buddies and super fast guy and former Reedy Race Open Class winner, Chad Dew, was there. That's his home track, and Chad went out of his way to really help me out. So he ended up drilling the inside of the tower to bring the camber link in. He had a spare set of Gia narrower arm mounts, and the car definitely got better and better. But overall, I was just more comfortable with my rear motor car, so I put it together and ran it. But I figured I'd shoot this video just to share my overall impression with you, and just give you guys some updates and let you know what I think about the build. The car is actually, it builds really, really easily. I mean, clearly it's nothing more than a good old-fashioned B4.2 front end. And basically, you build the front end, the shock package. There's a new transmission case, which is 4 gears. Same diff, slipper, setup, all that stuff. This car does happen to have the carbon rails, and I see that a lot of guys do that. I took the original battery support, it's aluminum, and I stacked it up on top of the rail just so that I could get a little bit of extra area to stick down some Velcro for the body, because I didn't want to put that screw in the front where you actually put the body clip through it. When you buy the rails, you get 2 extra shorter brass posts that support the front end, because the brass actually sit down and clamp down on the rail. So overall, the kit quality was really good. I'm really impressed with it. I mean, it's good old-fashioned associated parts with an aluminum chassis, an aluminum battery brace. Now, I ran the car 2 different ways. There's 2 holes right here, and then there's a hole right here underneath the battery strap. And what you can do is, if you put this one screw in with a little plastic nut on the back, you can run a shorty sideways. You can run it, or you can flip the battery strap here, and you can run it forward or rear. If you take this one out and you put in these 2, then you can run saddles rear or turn this brace and run saddles to the front. It's your choice. It comes with the aluminum battery strap, but they make a carbon one that's a little bit lighter. I did even notice that there are guys that don't run this brace whatsoever. They don't even run the brace. So I don't know if they're just looking to get more flex in the chassis, or if it creates more bite or whatever, but it is out there. Now, I've seen that quite a few guys are actually taking this. There's 2 things that are going on in the back. Well, actually, I guess there's a bunch of stuff going on in the back of this car. But basically, a lot of guys are getting rid of these mounts, the central wing mounts, and they're putting on B44.2 wing mounts. They're putting in longer screws with a nut, and they're putting a carbon brace in the back of this. I was just informed that Gia and JC have now got custom aluminum rear bulkheads, so I'm sure the whole carbon fiber thing won't be going on too much longer. When I asked about the B44 mount, I guess it just brings the wing down a little bit, which is the main reason. So that's that. One thing to talk about is these narrow pivots. When you get these narrow pivots from Gia, the front one obviously is a little bit narrower because there's toe in. Well, inside the holes are so narrow that when you put the screw in, what happens is it'll actually push the little Delrin hinge pin bushing, it'll push it out. And so if you try to force everything together, it'll just bind up. So what you actually have to do is you actually have to take this little, it's like kind of like a dowel, and you have to trim it off at a 45-degree angle so that that hinge pin bushing will go all the way in before you set everything up, which isn't a big deal. I'm sure you probably could try putting in a shorter screw if you wanted, but I would think that on something that takes as much abuse as an arm mount, you'd probably want the longest screw you can get. And so trimming the end of that little Delrin bushing at a 45 really isn't a big deal. So overall, my first impression of the car is really good. I made the mistake of not having the right setup, and maybe my tire selection could have been better. So I'm pretty impressed with it. I did go ahead and pull the electronics out of it and went back to my rear motor car. This was not, just to give you an idea, this was not a super high bite track. It was, blue tires and green tires were working. Some of the guys this year decided to run clay tires, and which traditionally haven't worked in the past. So I think all of us were hunting for the setup a little bit. I know that Ryan Cavalieri was on AKA Slingshots, and his car was amazingly hooked up. Chad Dew was on, I believe, Gold Barcodes, and his car was also super hooked up. So there's no question that these cars can work in medium traction situations. I've never really seen one on a low traction situation, but overall, just a good car. So I can't wait to actually do some more testing and tuning and playing with the setup and comparing this car to the RB6. Yeah, I guess I probably already showed you this, but there's we've drilled the rear motor mount, or we drilled the rear shock tower and lengthened this link. Now, the way I did that is I just drilled a hole there. Well, let me rephrase this. Chad drilled a hole there, countersunk it, and then you use a small 440 screw and a ball nut. Coming soon, or if you look carefully at the pros cars like Mayfield and Cavalieri, you'll see that this shock tower actually has 2 vertical rows of holes for the camber link, and they're actually using like an aluminum block. They basically they just bolt an aluminum block in here, and they can run a longer link, a shorter link, whatever they want. But I think ultimately the issue is, if you have the ball stud way out here, it is so far outboard of the actual hinge pin, you end up in a situation where the car just has extreme camber gain. So it is what it is. I never even drove the car with the stock mount, so I can't tell you about that. So anyways, that's it. Overall, I like the kit. It went together well. I did notice that on some of the kits at the track, which was pointed out to me by another driver, that some of the holes weren't countersunk quite as deep as maybe they could have been. So the heads of the screws were they weren't really sticking out, but they definitely were not flush. So if you have a Centro, you might want to check that out. And I'm sure that if you just grabbed a countersink bit and a drill and just a quick buzz in each hole would probably just bring everything down so that you're not getting any drag. So that's that. I guess I'll give you guys an update once I get a chance to play with the setup and get this thing dialed back in when I have some time, and we'll see how it goes. If you have questions or comments, or you have tips or setups that really work on medium bite surfaces, which is something that I run on, feel free to leave it in the comments section, and I'll check it out. Take it easy.